LOL. Welcome to Hockey on Tap Podcast, episode 137. It's a strip parade, possibly. I'm your host, Bill Dean. I'm here, of course, here with my co-host, Little Steve. Shorts Guy will be
Hey.
joining us possibly in the next 20, 25 minutes. Schwim is a bum. But we are
Mm-hmm.
brought to you by Primetime Radio, courtesy of Mr. Wu. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. I still hear music because I didn't turn it off. Please use a 5-star review if you would be so kind. Steven, what are we drinking?
In honor of their just celebrated 7-year anniversary, this isn't one of their anniversary brews, but Sigmeister had their anniversary party this weekend, which I missed, unfortunately. But easy peasy summer shandy, lemons, limes, and tangerines. Yeah, nice and light. 4.3%.
They've made that before, right? They've had that.
They
That's
have,
like
yes.
a new reissue, I think, right?
Yeah, it's a reissue for summer. It's obviously not summer yet, but we're almost there, so I'm going to have it.
No, it's delicious. Very good beer. A couple weeks ago, we went to Bolero Snort. My beautiful sister-in-law graduated from nursing school. Well, not
Congratulations.
she got her doctorate in nursing, which makes her, I guess, I forget what she has a whole bunch of monikers and things. It's awesome.
Nurses practitioner, isn't that what makes her?
I think she's better than that, but I'm not really sure. Yeah, she has a whole bunch of letters, insignias. It's pretty impressive. She did a shit ton of school, so Abby, congrats. We went to Bolero, and this might be one of the better beers I've ever had. It's called Never Tell Me the Odds. Obviously, Star Trek themed. Is it Star Trek or it's
Star Wars?
Star Wars. Sorry, Star Wars themed. This one it tastes like cherry pie. It is sour ale with strawberry, blueberry. Like raspberry blueberry pie. Strawberry, raspberry, blueberry, lemon, graham cracker, and vanilla. No lactose, Steven. So you're gonna have this when you come over to my house.
It says it on the can.
Yeah, no lactose. Yep, it is delicious. It's one of the better beers I think I've ever had. And it's like easy drinking. You're not, too sour. It's not too fruity. It's
not too sweet.
I'm not too
terrified
sweet
of the sweetness value. It'll make me feel sick after one.
It. Well, true, yeah. Some of these beers get a little crazy. But Blair had a bunch of different ones. Last week I had the Evil Water. So Blair Snort and Evil Twin do a collab where they make this thing called Evil Water, and it's carbonate. Well, they said it's a malt beverage fruit juice. So they basically take fruit juice and they make it alcoholic. And it's not beer technically. It's almost like a mix between a seltzer and I don't know, like a mixed drink.
It sounds more like a cocktail or something.
It's delicious. It is very good. I have a bunch of those too. And they sell them at a bunch of places in Jersey, including Bottle King and Morris Plains, a bunch of other places around Morris Plains or Morristown area, Morris County. And yeah, pretty good, pretty impressive.
Already spilled it?
Already spilled
it?
Excuse me. You're a bum.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember. It's always Shrim's fault. Shrim is the biggest POS in this game right now. If you're looking for podcasters to really just disappoint, it's Shrim. I love you, big guy. If he's listening, he might not be. We'll see. All right. So obviously, I wanted to do some more stuff on beer, but obviously the big thing is Vegas. Let's get to what's on tap for today's episode. Here's a weekly snapshot. Vegas Golden Knights are 3-1. They open up a can of whoop in game 2, which we, kind of started that game, and then it slowly, Vegas turned into a stomping 7-2. They pull Bobrovsky. Game 3 comes around. The Panthers come back late to tie the game in the third on the Matthew Tkachuk goal, and then Verhaeghe wins in an OT. And you're like, okay, the Cats are starting to make a comeback here. They do the same thing on game 4 where they fall down 3 goals and they have to storm back and they can't win it. They get the second goal on a pretty good Barkov snipe off of a Montour pass, but they wait for so long to try to come back in these games. I feel like they don't get off to a start where they just fly and put put Vegas down early, and that's kind of what's bit them in this series. Vegas has found their groove early in games. They score often. Their power play is, I think, 35%. It's really good. And Vegas is not taking any of the Panthers BS in terms of physicality and getting under their skin like they did the Bruins, like they did to Carolina. And you see that Vegas is mentally tough, and it goes to back. And we could talk about Marshall So and the team from before, because I think that's kind of stuck with them, losing that cup to Washington. And I just Vegas in 5 seems like it's going to happen. You tell me what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't have a whole lot of confidence after Game 3 that Florida was going to really
Yeah.
make this a series. I think, I mean, good for them for tying that late and
Yep.
then of course winning in overtime. But I mean, that late tying goal, while it was great work, I mean, it still came with under 2 minutes left. I think almost a minute left in the game, and
I thought it was 2:30, but it was really close to being almost way too late, right?
they pulled the goalie and they scored with the goalie pulled. So I think it was under two. It doesn't matter when it was. Either way, it just
Yeah.
they haven't been impressive at all. I mean,
No,
some of their guys like Kachuk does his thing, but he's not really he ties the game, but otherwise hasn't done much offensively. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the Vegas Washington series.
yeah,
Um, where Vegas came in and they looked great. It was their inaugural season. No one expected them to do this. They were flying. Obviously Florida didn't win game 1, but I don't know. There's been 4 games now, and I don't think it's been much of a series, to be honest. I
no,
thought it would be closer. I don't know if the layoff did something. Bobrovsky has played admirably
bad,
this entire playoffs, but he's
bad this
looks
series.
back to normal, I guess, right?
Yeah, back to
Um,
normal.
and he's not. He'll make some saves and he does fine, but he's not. He's not stealing games for him. He's not playing, Vezina caliber. Aiden Hill is playing well. I don't think he has to play that well because somehow Florida's offense really just isn't producing a whole lot. They're not
No,
challenging. Besides that amazing stick save that Aiden Hill had to make,
ridiculous. We'll
there's
talk about that
not a
too.
lot. Yeah, there's not a whole lot that they've been doing to pressure them, and it just seems like, I mean, you never know with these things, right? So you don't say a series is over, but it's been 4 games out of a best of 7, and I have yet to see Florida make this any bit of a competitive series. In fact,
I
I think
completely agree.
I strongly believe that the series should probably be over if it wasn't for like a little bit of puck luck there at the end with Matthew Tkachuk scoring to tie the game. But yeah, I expected a little more excitement. I know they're trying to do their sandpaper thing, but Vegas just doesn't care, right? They got one
No,
thing they're focused on, and they're, like I said, for a while now, coaching. We liked Maurice, we like Cassidy, and I think Cassidy has full control over his team right now, and yeah, they're in the driver's seat, and I expect them to win next game. But again, you never know. But I do expect them to win at home. I hope they win at home. I like seeing teams win at home. It's a lot more exciting. But
yep.
yeah, it'll be super crazy in Vegas if they end up taking it tomorrow.
So, a couple things you just talked about. One would be the Aiden Hill save, and Game 4, the Cavs are trying to make a comeback, and Nick Cousins, or so it was Game 3 or Game 4. Why am I blanking on which game it was? But anyways, I'm going to sign that apparently. Aiden Hill on the doorstep. Nick Cousins gets a pass to the slot, and it's one of the easier chip-ins that you could have as a
That was
player.
game 1. Pretty sure that was
It was
game
the
1.
Aiden Hill save?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm blanking on. Anyways, Nick Cousins, right? Easier tap in. Even if he gets a little bit of elevation, the save's still ridiculous. But if he gets a little elevation, it's a goal. But it's one of those where you shouldn't have to get elevation. You just quick tap in your goal, your scores.
Mm-hmm.
Aiden Hill comes across from left to right and makes a paddle save, and it's just on the edge where the paddle starts to turn into the stick blades of the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is one of the better saves I've seen in in Stanley Cup history, finals history. Because there's been some really good saves as you go through it. But I was trying to think of top saves in Stanley Cup finals, and
Yeah.
you can look to the Marc-Andre Fleury on
Nick
who was that in
Lidstrom.
Detroit?
Nick
Uh,
Lidstrom.
Lidstrom with like
Yeah.
2 seconds left to save up, to basically stop the
As a
sweep.
buzzer beater. Yeah.
Yep, yep. That was an awesome save. The Holtby one on Alex Tuck
Hmm.
in talk about it. Vegas versus
Very similar.
Washington.
Very
Very good.
similar.
And then I think the only other one that might be better is the Cam Ward on Fernando Pisani, Shroom's boy. That
Yeah.
was in Edmonton. That that made Cam Ward, I think, A, the Conn Smythe winner, and B, just the legend of Cam Ward kind of came about of that, because that save was
Yeah.
utterly
I'm on the map.
ridiculous.
Hmm.
And I Aiden Hill might have solidified himself the Conn Smythe. He could have. I mean, Jam is another guy, and we'll talk about him in a second. But that Aiden Hill save was awesome, and it kept, obviously led to a win, and he's he's made himself a pretty good payday. Let's put it that way.
He has. I don't know who's going to pay him top dollar, but I would be very wary of
Yeah.
throwing a lot of money at him. But we can talk about that when free agent frenzy starts. Not for nothing though. Going back to that save, Pietrangelo also saved a slam dunk immediately after,
Yes.
because there was a rebound that was
Yep.
also right there with a gaping net, and Pietrangelo's stick got in the way and blocked it, went straight up, and then he blasted it out of the air as it was coming down. I think
No,
Pietrangelo just as much saved a goal as Aiden Hill did, which is
absolutely.
crazy.
Yeah.
And no one talks about it. It's just like,
No, he did awesome, and there's been a couple plays like that where guys on Vegas have eaten a puck and made and stopped really a potential scoring chance. Their defense has played really well. You talked about the agitating, and Nick Hague, every time one of these Panthers guys go at him, he just laughs at them, and it's very funny because
he just
they're
gets
clearly
punched in
trying
the
to get
face.
under their skin. Yeah, and he just smiles, and it thinks it's hysterical.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing, the not injuries, the penalties.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the refs have not been good. There's been some calls that have been atrocious for both teams, but
Yeah. Well,
I've
the whole
never seen a
playoffs
team. Yeah, well, the whole play. It's always the same.
and
for me.
season and
Yep.
season prior and season prior and season
Yep.
prior.
And yeah, and we keep talking about this. This is a broken record. But I don't think I've seen a team shoot themselves in the foot more in a playoff series, in a Stanley Cup final series, than the Panthers have done. It feels like every time they get momentum or something happens where they're going to get a power play, Radko Gudas goes and cross checks Barbashev.
He's always been that player. Always
it's not
been
just
that player.
him. And it's not
No,
just
it's
him.
not.
Obviously, all of them have kind of done this, but they just keep shooting it. Like Anthony Duclair, they have a 4-on-3, or they're going to have a 5-on-4 penalty, and he takes a stupid penalty that gets him 4-on-3 now, and then that's when Vegas scored the Mark Stone goal in the playoffs, or sorry, in game 2, and they just can't seem to get out of their own way, and stop taking dumb penalties that eventually they're backbreakers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, they went through the playoffs with guys who would, I guess, retaliate back, or
Yeah,
I don't know, but yeah, it's dumb, and I don't know. This is how series change, right? It's penalties, penalty kill, and power play is huge in the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, your own worst enemy. I mean, give Vegas all the credit. They're executing when they have to execute. They're executing, and Florida just keeps digging themselves into a bigger hole. And
worse and worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to see, because I did have a couple of notes on. So Kachuk right now leads. Well, Kachuk and Montour and Lindell are tied with 3 points apiece. Lindell's kind of just been a decent third line center for them. Montour's played well, got the baby bump. He's got 2 goals. Barkov, he had 2 points last game. He had the assist and then the goal, to make it 3-2. But he's been nearly invisible. And for a guy that people have said has been under the radar, and now he's really become a superstar, he's been real bad this playoffs. At least I think so. You're not getting that upper echelon top 20 player that you would think you'd be getting in a Stanley Cup Final Series, and that's kind of hurt them. On the other side, Jonathan Marchessault, 4 games, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. He's got 3 power play goals. They're like I said, their power play has been buzzing. Mark Stone has been one of the better things for them with 2 goals, 4 assists. He's their captain. He's leading them in every way. He gets cheap shotted, Crusher in the face, and he comes right back and he scores the goal. Eichel's been good. He's got 5 assists. He leads all players with assists in the playoffs at 17. This team overall, and it's a team because they're playing like one. You even have, and this pains me to say, Brett Howden has 2 goals and assists in the series, and he's going to win a cup. And as a Ranger fan, it makes you absolutely sick because this guy was not very good. I mean, what can you say about this team?
I think Washington feels the same way about Chandler Stevenson at this point, right?
Yeah. Oh, this whole team, they're all cast-offs that have done really well. Yeah.
They're deep, and Barbashev is looking like the steal of the trade deadline right now.
Yep.
Yeah, he's going to get paid too, but I mean, it looks like he's, and Vegas didn't do a whole lot except for go hard after him, and it was at this point now post trade deadline, of course, he looks like the best trade that was made in the offseason.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, at the trade deadline. I'm going to sneeze.
Bless you.
Oh my goodness gracious! Thank you.
He and there was talks about how maybe he's going to be someone in the offseason that Chicago goes after to pair with Connor Bedard because he does a little bit of everything. He can score, he can pass. He obviously has some toughness to his game. That reverse hit on Radko Gudas was very impressive.
Yeah,
and knocked him out of the game.
Steamrolled him. I wouldn't call it a reverse hit. He just steamrolled him. He's just skating down the rink with the puck and just went right through him.
Reverse hit because Gudas was going for the hit and then he just hit him instead.
Right.
He's been really
that makes
good.
sense. This will be his second cup, so he can go wherever and just get paid at this point.
He's still 27. Like he's not old. Nick Waugh has been really good for them. Riley Smith, the vet, and you go back to the vets. Riley Smith has had a good series. He's played all over the ice. Obviously, Big Bill Carlson, 1 goal. He had the 1 power play assist. You talk about Marchessault, who's been awesome for them. But then you get in contributions from like Zach Whitecloud, who had the goal in Game 2. Shea Theodore had that sweet goal, I guess, after he took the shot off of Lundberg. It's very impressive what this team. Michael Amadio, who's been, basically cast off by a bunch of teams. They're a complete team, and that's why them winning the cup shouldn't come as any surprise. They had this talent there for a while. They just were never able to put it together. Really, for a whole full 4 playoffs series, and they're here now, and it's absolutely deserving. Right? There's nothing you can really say.
Yeah, I mean they went through who. I guess, some of the best of the West, right? Edmonton was one that, they could have picked. Dallas was another one that they could have picked. And were they the ones they played Winnipeg, right? That
Winnipeg,
disastrous first round. I mean, you won't count that as a free pass, but I don't know. I hate to say, because you can look back in retrospect at some of these teams that end up making it to the Cup final. Right, and you look at and Shrim's not here to defend it, but you look here at Tampa Stanley Cups and beating Montreal and Dallas.
Oh yeah, they're bullshit. We know that.
Montreal, of course, there's not much to say about that. Dallas, Dallas
is bad.
Dallas looked good, but they were riding Hudobin, who was just playing out of his mind, who never replicated that performance ever again. And, of course, fizzled out in the final. But is Florida another one of those teams that just, they got in a hot streak and they just found their way in the Stanley Cup final when, you could probably...
Oh, no. Hold on. All right, we got
Hey.
him. But so Sam must have changed my button because it says Bill Steven Shorts guy, and it went to obviously. So let's see. Does this one work? No, not
Nope.
Steven.
Hey!
Oh, there we go.
Hey!
Bill Little Steven Schwim is Shorts guy actually. So there we go.
All right.
Welcome. Welcome, Shorts guy.
That's a great little. Yeah, we were just talking about.
I don't remember what I was saying. Now I'm distracted.
Yeah, what were we saying? Yeah, I get distracted.
You guys were talking about is Florida comparable to when Dallas went to the Cup with Cadova?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Is it
Schwimm's
just
Mickey
a
Mouse
streaky thing?
championships.
Yeah,
Does it become
seriously.
like a free pass for Vegas now? They battled so hard to get to the Stanley Cup final, and then you reach a Florida team who, probably the layoff had a little bit to do with it. It took them off their hot streak, and now they're just, the mediocre Florida team that they were for the vast majority of the season, with a mediocre goaltender.
No, and I don't say you take anything away from Vegas if they do go on the win, because they had to go through three other teams just to get to this point. But that's tournament play. Like Florida is playing in a tournament, and they got hot at the right time, and the 9-day layoff definitely is going to be difficult for them. But let's not forget, though, with Florida, Bobrovsky found his game in the playoffs, and an incredible game it was, and that he's the reason.
Czech lost and found at the Vegas arena. What's the arena called? Czech lost and found.
T-Mobile
His
Arena.
game may still
T-Mobile
be there.
Arena.
You might find his game at the lost and found.
Seriously, it's he's not having that staying power like someone like that Jaguar had, or that Wah had at times in his playoff runs, but Jaguar is probably the closest one, because I know that some of the stats have been comparable to it's the overtime wins, I think it is comparable to Wah, which he may have tied that the other night. That may have been his 12th, and I think because I know Wah had 12 overtime wins, so that may have been Bob's 12th. But regardless, you can also say that the same thing for Vegas. Did they find their success in a goalie that just got hot at the right time with Aiden Hill, to where if he wasn't playing well, would they have gotten as far as they did? I mean, and is Aiden Hill going to pull a Khudobin and potentially win a cup, or maybe a Niemi and win a cup, and then the next season go with a big contract and just not be able to replicate that? So that's yet to be seen too on the Vegas side as well. And but again, it's a lot of this is goaltending. Bob can certainly steal the rest of this series, but I think one of the things with Florida too, when they play their type of game, their swarming style is so high tempo that you can only do that for so long without burning out. And when they're in that, for some reason, they only seem to turn it on really hot at the very end of the game when they're desperate. And at least that's what it seemed in the last.
Yeah,
I think another 30 seconds. Another 30 seconds in the last game, and they probably would have tied it. And their swarming style you can only do for so long before it just you're worn the hell out. So it's tough to say. They're a good team in certain aspects, and then maybe are they overachieving? Probably, but it's not like they don't have the pieces to also be successful as well, because they're 1 year removed from. It is 1 year removed from a President's Trophy winning team.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they've
not
improved.
The same roster,
though. No, but I want to say that they, as much as they've shipped pieces off, they've also brought in big pieces. But I also think that part of their
Matthew Tkachuk is probably the best playoff performer that the league has
that we've seen in a while.
As far as a piece goes, he kind of brings everything. Melvin.
Yeah. I think Florida's biggest problem is they're undisciplined in this series. They're just so wildly undisciplined, and that's shooting themselves in the foot, because Vegas has been so hot on the power play, that Vegas has more. I think most of their goals, if not all, I don't want to say all of them, but I think the majority of their goals have been power play goals, and Florida's giving those opportunities. And Matthew Tkachuk he's lost his cool, and they're also handing out 10-minute misconducts like candy in the finals too.
Yeah, it's and everyone talks about the hit that Matthew Tkachuk on Eichel, which was as clean can get. Unfortunately, Eichel toe picks, and that's kind of what makes it look so bad. But he got a 10-minute misconduct for that, for sticking up for himself. Like, that completely changed that game. And we talked about the refs. This
Well,
series,
you also don't know. You don't know what happened in the scrum, right?
But I mean, he's defending.
Granted, I don't want to stick up for the refs, but yeah, I mean, if it's just physicality, then yeah, why is he getting a 10-minute misconduct? But if there was more that happened in that pile, then it could have been justified.
3 Vegas Golden Knights go after him, to try to get retribution for that hit, and they didn't get 3 10-minute misconducts. So that's where the officiating has been
It seems lopsided at times, very lopsided, which is it's killing Florida. And if I wouldn't count Florida out of this, I know their mountain is steep to climb. But until they officially lose this series, you really can't count them out, because they've been counted out in all but the Carolina series, I guess.
Well, they were down 3-1 to Boston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were down 3-1 to Boston, and they did it. But and let's not forget too that Vegas was up. What was it, 3-0 against Dallas, and Dallas dragged it to a game 6.
Yeah.
So Vegas has the ability to go on a slide.
Yeah, they did.
But I did love the ending of the last game with the big scrum and everyone jumping in and Aiden Hill losing his helmet. Loved it. So I don't know if you guys spoke about it already, but
no, let's talk about this. So go ahead with that, and then I'm going to ask you guys a question. So everyone's asking now. Alex Pietrangelo, who had a penalty that did not expire before the period ended. It expired. It would have expired. He had like 20-something seconds left on it. He leaves the box and enters the scrum. Now, by league rule, if you have a penalty, and the rule is this: at a stoppage of play following the expiration of their penalties, if a player or players exiting the penalty bench gets involved into an altercation, those coming from the penalty bench shall be assessed the penalties they incur in the altercation, in addition to a game misconduct and a 10-game suspension. So, by the letter of the law in the NHL books, Alex Pietrangelo should be suspended 10 games for
leaving the box before his penalty expires.
The box before the penalty expired. The ringer
was he released from the box because the period ended? Was he released from the box? Yes, he was.
Penalty is still but his penalty is still enforced. That's by this rule.
Yeah, but he didn't physically leave the box himself to go jump into a scrum.
Well, no,
he was let out, and then a scrum ensued.
Well, but technically, if it went into overtime, he would still have a penalty going into overtime. So he's still, in fact, in the box.
So wouldn't that be the same if you left the bench to get involved in the scrum as well?
Yeah. Should a player coming from the penalty bench at a stoppage of play get involved with an opponent, and the opponent is deemed to be instigated?
If players are on the ice, like, you're not jumping the bench, you're not jumping the box. The period is over, and the players are leaving the ice surface, and then it happens. It's not the same.
They weren't leaving the ice surface, though. They were not leaving the ice surface. So technically, with all that bullshit going on,
they're leaving the ice surface.
Well,
it doesn't matter if it's whether or not it started. The period is done, and the team is leaving the ice surface. Does it mean that the benches should clear? No, but if there's players on the ice, like, he was let out onto the ice because the period was over.
He shouldn't have been, though.
But
he should not have been.
Should not have been. Yes, but he didn't let himself out of the box.
No, but he also cannot then go and. He cannot then go and enter the fray, which is what he did.
Yes. Okay. Yep. I see where you're going with that, because at that point, if he's being let out, then the game is over. He needs to go to his bench and vacate the ice surface. Instead, he went right to the fray, and he should not have been He should not have been allowed out of the penalty box, because that type of fray, although the buzzer went, the period's over, that type of fray almost in a sense extends the period.
The game was
or at least you're right, the game was over, but the mess that was on the ice, in essence, extends the period just slightly until the refs can deal with it. It would be the same as if the benches were all emptying to get involved in a fray with, like, a bench clearing brawl, which we haven't seen in a bunch of years.
The game ended The game ended,
You're-
hence ending his penalty.
Yeah,
His
but
penalty
he is
was
not
over.
allowed
There's
to go
no,
to the fray.
there's no
But he's not
hypothetical.
allowed
There's
to-
there's no hypothetical
not allowed
about
to
that.
go-
Well, if it was overtime, that they would have carried over. There wasn't. The game was over.
But he
Over.
shouldn't be allowed to get involved in that fight.
Yeah.
His main trajectory should be from penalty box to bench and watch it all unfold. He went from penalty box because technically, what Billy Dean is saying, technically he's still penalized and can't get involved in the fray, which is still
Yes.
somewhat an
He's not.
extension.
He's not
of-
penalized. The game has expired. There is
But
no
that's
penalty
still-
remaining.
You're
He's-
right, but
he's
but
still-
what's going on is still an extension of that third period until they get all that separated and get the teams off the ice. So technically, he's getting involved in a play that's still unfolding, even though the buzzer rang, the period ended. It would be the same if he jumped off the bench and got into the fray versus
Exactly.
coming out of the penalty box.
It's the same situation.
Yeah.
He's a sixth man coming from somewhere where he was not on the ice.
Yes, he was not
And
involved in
so-
that play, nor should he have been involved in the play.
And it leads me to, if you remember,
So you think he
Darnell
should get a
Nurse-
10-game suspension?
Yeah. By
No.
the letter of the
Well,
rule.
By the
it-
letter
you
of the
know,
law,
hold
he
on,
should.
Hold on.
But they're not
But
going to do that for the playoffs.
No.
which is bullshit because
Because he didn't
Darnell
leave the
Nurse-
box.
Hold on. He did leave the box.
But he shouldn't have gotten
He
involved.
left
He
the
should
box,
not
he
have
went
gotten
into-
involved.
and
The game was over.
But
You're
but
right.
It's the same
So
as if
he should
so
not have
what's
been
the-
involved
Steven,
in the
what's
fight.
Difference? What's the difference if a player from the bench went out and into the scrum? It's the same.
Nothing.
Thing.
Same thing.
It's the
Same
same
thing.
thing. So and by that you get a suspension. There's a 10-game suspension if you leave the bench to enter a fray at the end of stoppage or anything. You get a 10-game suspension. It's the same thing.
When the game ends, the players get off the bench onto the ice.
So you're
all the
by
time.
your rule.
So by my rule,
once the game's
everybody,
over,
every
everyone
single
can just
person, if there's a
free for all.
scrum, and there's 6-7 guys that went out to congratulate their goalie, but there's still a scrum, but there's 7 guys on the ice, they should all be assessed penalties because they're jumping
No,
the bench.
because but they did
didn't
not
go
get
into the
involved.
scrum.
He
Matter,
got
it's the same
involved.
thing.
It's
Well,
not the
same
same thing
pitch.
because he
It
left
is
the
not the
penalty
same
box. He left the penalty box and got involved in that. If he would have
Yeah.
gone from the penalty box to his
you-
bench or
you
just
bluffing
anywhere
right
else
now?
on the ice, not involved in the scrum, that's fine. He left the penalty box and got immediately into the scrum.
And
So therefore, he should be in some way, shape, or form at
Yeah.
least spoken to, which is
Well,
all they're
no,
going to do.
what-
They'll be like,
And see what I
yeah.
did?
you shouldn't have
And
done
see
that.
what I did?
You
And
You
see
should
what I
have
did?
stayed.
I made the podcast exciting.
yeah, exactly. But
See,
if
Steven,
you're
we
Darnell
do listen to
Nurse-
you on the podcast. We do listen to you.
only when I spit
Yeah.
nonsense, right?
yeah.
And
But
you have to
now
argue it.
tell me that Darnell Nurse should have a little bit of an angst with this because by letter of the law, the reason he got suspended one game when they had that whole slash with Draisaitl and Pietrangelo, he started a fight, instigator penalty within 2 minutes, 2 minutes of ending time, right? He started a fight within 2 minutes of the game ending, and that automatically comes with a suspension. So he got that by letter of the law.
Yeah. No,
So
but we
that's-
see that the letter of the law is
It's
constantly
bullshit. Yeah,
amended,
Ben-
right, in the Stanley Cup final because they do
Yeah.
well. First of all, they do everything in their power to not suspend anybody in the playoffs. But I mean, forget it. I mean, you really have to headhunt
You got
to get suspended in the Stanley Cup final. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're yes, you're absolutely right. He left the box and he joined the scrum, and it should have been assessed as the letter of the law. You are absolutely right, but it's not going to happen because
No, it's not.
you
These
can think
NHLs
you can think
do.
of you can think of 1,000 excuses as to why not, right? Because it's a little scrum and the game was over. There's all these things that you can come up with to be like, it's not that big a deal, even though that the rules say that. But yeah, like I said, I mean, it's just I think there was a whole thing even when the Penguins beat Detroit in 2009 in the Cup final, and there was some sort of rule about fights after the game or something along those lines that was came with an automatic suspension, and Malkin straight up fought Zetterberg and nothing happened.
Yeah. That's
So yeah, they don't want to suspend. Especially a
No,
player like Pietrangelo, right? You don't want to take it. You don't want to take him out of the Stanley Cup final. They don't want to take players, especially stars, out of a cup final that could potentially mess with any sort of ratings or viewership. So that's why they want to keep them in, and they want to make it exciting. And doesn't matter what the rules say, they'll figure out how to bend them.
They'll figure out how to bend it, but that's what the league always does. They with the higher profile players, when they get in trouble, they find a way to bend the rule, and it doesn't really matter. It's the third and fourth line guys that get hammered with penalties and with suspensions, and again,
well, even then,
don't do that.
Those guys aren't.
Don't do that.
Yeah, those guys aren't even properly suspended. No one's ever properly suspended.
Pietrangelo got a game suspension, the same that Darnell Nurse got for slashing Leon Draisaitl on the wrist, and something that clearly could have broken something. It was that bad. So yeah, the NHL's a joke. Just a little quick stat for the Florida Panthers fans out there. Back in 2017, the Florida Panthers offered Jonathan Marchessault to Vegas as a condition to them picking Riley Smith in the expansion draft, so they could keep defenseman Alex Petrovich. Marchessault and Smith both have goals in the series. Obviously, Marchessault has 4. Petrovich no longer in the NHL. Good job, Florida.
A lot of regrets. I don't want to talk about expansion draft.
No, they're bad. They're bad. All right, let's talk anything else on the series real fast. We get a couple trades and then we'll get out of here.
I don't think so. Let's go Vegas.
Quickly, Tkachuk for Game 5 is he's obviously the undisclosed injury. He could be a situational use. They might just use him on power play, offensive zone draws. They're not going to use him.
He's going to play.
He'll play.
I think so too.
He'll play. That's just
gamesmanship by the coach.
Yes, and I love that. I love gamesmanship.
Oh yeah. Greg Cronin was announced head coach of the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, and then I just saw earlier, didn't Calgary name a head coach?
Yes.
Huska.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they moved. They promoted their assistant coach,
Ryan Huska. Yeah. Rangers are still the only team without a coach, and they're going to hire somebody. So I'm happy about that.
I just got a text message saying that they're close to hiring Peter Laviolette.
Yeah.
That's a retread, right?
Teams are so stupid. It's ridiculous. Well, Devils did last year, so you guys can't really Lindy Ruff. I mean, but anyways, God forbid you get a new voice in an NHL hockey arena. Like these guys are old man thoughts. Like, oh my God!
I believe you tried that. I believe you tried that and you fired him. You tried that and you fired him.
He did pretty well too, David Quinn.
Yeah, he's doing pretty decent.
And he's doing well with where is he now? He's doing
San Jose. Yeah. He's doing okay.
I mean,
he just coached the USA team too.
A terrible team.
Well, yeah.
Yes, he did. Too bad he had Casey DeSmith.
Casey DeSmith,
Jay Leach,
goaltender of the future.
Jay Leach comes in, Jay Leach comes in, and he's obviously a very good, assistant coach for Kraken. Give him a shot. Even Knoblauch, who's in the AHL right now, would have taken it. It's frustrating.
Dan Bylsma on the cusp of winning the Calder.
Yeah. And then I just saw Patrick Waugh.
Great for broadcasting.
Patrick Waugh said he wants to be a NHL head coach, so we'll see what happens with him.
He just won a Memorial Cup, so he can coach.
He left the team.
No matter. He officially left that.
Yeah,
he resigned.
Resigned his position. Yeah.
I didn't realize how big the Memorial Cup is in Canada. That's like a big deal.
Yeah, it's big time. Oh yeah. Big time.
I didn't realize that till this year, so maybe I'm just an idiot.
Because a Canadian team has to win that. So they celebrate it.
They get a winner
no matter what. Celebrate it mightily.
Well,
yeah, but
that's only in. No, that's not true. WHL has. Oh, no, that's because you CHL.
Yeah.
Right?
No. Because Seattle was in it. Seattle was in it.
WHL actually has 7 or 8 U.S. teams. There's a lot of U.S.
And
teams.
Seattle and Portland are 2 of the big teams in the WHL. Portland Winterhawks and this. I don't know what Seattle's team is, but the Portland Winterhawks have. No, that's MLS. Seattle, the Portland Winterhawks get huge following over in Portland. I would love to go out there and check a Winterhawks game out.
I did at one time. I did like a QMJHL like hockey map, and it's
I've
pretty cool.
actually got a funny story. So there's a when I went to Sacred Heart and I was doing stuff with the team, and all the guys are from everywhere Canada good, and here I am from North Jersey, played for the Vernon, New Jersey Blaze, the Vernon Blaze, a town team. And I guess there's like a team out of Vernon. I guess there's a team out of Vernon. They're like Vernon, British Columbia. And I was like, yeah, I played for Vernon Blaze. They're like, oh, Vernon, BC. I was like, yeah, no, Vernon, New Jersey. I'm not. Yeah, no, I'm not on that team that you're thinking of, but I am still here. So fuck off.
All right, so you have the Everett Silvertips, you have the Seattle Thunderbirds, you have the Spokane
Thunderbirds, that's the team.
Chiefs, you have the Tri-City Americans, and you have the Portland Winterhawks. So there's 5 teams in the Western Hockey League out of the U.S. And then if you go into Ontario Hockey League, you have the Saginaw Spirit, you have the Flint Firebirds, you have the Sarnia is Canada, Erie Otters in
Erie, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Yes, where
not bad.
Shockwave, the hardcore band that's Transformer themed, is from.
Yep.
Great fucking band.
Yeah, I keep looking up these teams because I'm imagining one day my son will play for one of them. So,
Why not
yeah,
Sarah?
I have big aspirations. Both of them. Well, no, I want Sarah to stay close to home. She's going to play awesome girls hockey and then get drafted in a hockey, college hockey.
She can still play major juniors.
I don't want her to go to major junior. They're a bunch of idiots. I need my son to be one of the idiots. Actually, have him play for the USHL would be pretty cool. So we'll see how that goes.
He's a dean. He's going to make dumb decisions.
He's a big boy. He's going to lay people out
He's
in
a
hockey.
dean. He's going to make dumb decisions.
Shane Doan joins the Leafs as special assistant. Barry Trotz wants the Predators to be exciting, and there were 2 big trades. Columbus is dumb. They, along with their head coach Mike Babcock, they bring in another very great person, role model, a top role model in Ivan Provorov. They also bring in Damon Severson in a sign and trade.
Bye. Sam is so thrilled about that.
Oh, I'm sure. So they give up a 3rd-round pick to sign to trade for Severson, who signed a 8-year deal at what was the
8 years? Yeah, it was 8 years
something.
at six something. That's
Six
only the
something,
second. Yeah. Apparently, that's only the second sign and trade in the league history. There haven't been many sign and trades.
From Anaheim to Edmonton. What was that? Who's the power forward? I went from Anaheim to Edmonton.
Yes.
Man. I'm forgetting his name.
Either way, I think it's only been 2 sign and trades like that, and for Scott Fitzgerald to turn Damon Severson, who's going to be a UFA come July 1, into a 3rd-round pick.
Schwartzguy, you have to be disappointed though, because at the trade deadline you said 1st-round pick and you only got a 3rd. That's
okay.
You didn't get what you wanted.
So hold on. You're right. But let us remind the listeners that all came from an idiot. And but let's also remind the listeners that an idiot is about to win the Stanley Cup playoff pool.
Whatever. You have Fugazi point
not
system.
me.
So Fugazi point system.
No, it's not.
Fugazi. If you pick a team to win in 7 games and it's the opposite team, you should get points for that. That's Fugazi.
You get a point for picking the right amount of games.
No, but it's the wrong team. If I said Vegas sweep and it was really Panthers in a sweep, I should get penalized for that because I clearly was totally wrong. It's
if I did that, Steven would be in the negative. If I did that, Steven would be in the negative.
That would be funny. See, that would be funny. Yeah.
I can't believe how wrong I've been this entire time.
I've been bad.
And
I can't believe how right I've been.
I was so close to having my preseason prediction happen. And yet here I am, so wrong. So wrong. And everything.
Hey,
wrong.
at least
and
at least
everything
my
Carolina,
precinct-
Dallas.
Man.
hey, I
that was
said Florida,
close.
Calgary. At least
Fine.
I'm 50% right.
Schwartz got
Because
Florida winning the
60%.
cup, so he technically could get
Yep.
it still.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, the official first sign and trade in NHL history was Matthew Tkachuk. I did not know that.
There's not been many. I could.
Yeah, to get
That's
that,
so
you get that 8. Well, now, there hasn't been many because now you get that extra year, right? If they
Yeah,
sign with
yeah.
the club, so
yeah. So
that's why you're
yes.
getting more sign trades. Although I don't know why Columbus would want the. I mean, I don't
Columbus is
know.
doing
I'm not gonna try.
something.
So
Columbus is
bad.
doing something, but that was the reason why it's a sign and trade so that they can get that 8th year with Severson.
Mhm.
Why they want that 8th year, I don't know. Like Severson
Why
did
Severson
well.
wants that 8th year in Columbus? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
no, I've been to Columbus. I've been drunk in Columbus, and I left Columbus. I think I was in
Yeah.
Columbus, Ohio for.
I
Got
think
there at 9 a.m. I left at about 11 at night. I've been in Columbus for less than 15 hours.
other than
And
Ohio State and the brewery where it has the hotel that you can get beers in your shower, what brewery is that?
Is
Because
that
it's in Columbus.
Brewdog? Isn't that Brewdog?
Is it Brewdog? Yeah. Where they actually
they're
have a
okay.
tap in the shower. That's the only reason I would go to Columbus. This is the
It's
Ivan
really
Provorov
not.
trade. Philly gets the 22nd overall pick in this year's draft. They get a second-round pick from Columbus, formerly Columbus, in 2024. A second-round pick from the Kings in 2024. Cal Peterson, Sean Walker, Helgi Grans, and then LA retains 30% of Provorov's contract and receives Kevin Connaughton and Hayden Hodge. You got a first and 2 seconds for Ivan Provorov. Philly, good job. Philly actually did something very good in this trade. Congrats, guys, because that was a pretty good
There's
fleecing.
still going to be a dumpster fire.
And
Connaughton,
Connaughton and Provorov.
Yeah.
For some reason, LA really wanted Connaughton. I don't. That's also confusing to me.
And they also signed Vladislav Gavrikov to an extension. Cole Caulfield gets an extension, 8 years. I don't understand why you would pay him that much.
Did you see his reaction to that when they asked him what was he going to do?
No, what did he say?
To celebrate? So it was. I saw it real quick. I should have saved it, but they said, "So, you got this extension. What are you going to do?" And he's like, "I'm probably just going to take a nap."
Nice. That's a great way to go about it. Last two things before we head out. Connor Hellebuck will not sign with Winnipeg, according to The Athletic. Not interested in signing an extension with them, and it will become a UFA on July 1st of next year, 2024. And then Pierre-Marc Dubois, thank you. Pierre Dubois. Pierre-Luc. Thank you. PL. He said he will also
PLD.
He wants to leave. He wants Montreal, which he's kind of screwed himself in the foot there. But
I heard an interesting. So he went from Columbus to Winnipeg, and I heard an interesting thing about him today on the radio. He was in Columbus. It wasn't good enough, so he wanted to leave. He went to he went to Winnipeg. It wasn't good enough. Now he wants to leave. So at what point is it?
It's a cancer.
At what point is it the player? This is
it's definitely the player.
It's definitely him, and it's going to be tough for him to go somewhere and be successful if it's constantly like, oh, I want out because this is just not the right place. Oh no, this isn't the right place either. I want out again.
Yep. Yeah.
Which
I hope he goes to Montreal and it sucks.
It's let him go to the Rangers.
No, I don't want him in the Rangers.
Let him go to the Rangers.
He's going to cost so much. They don't have a spot for him. They don't have a spot for him. They'd have to trade Trocheck. All right, fine. I'll trade Trocheck for Dubois.
So he can just be a disaster in your locker room.
Yeah, but it's only 1 year, and then I get rid of that contract. Both contracts. I don't have to worry about 7 years of Trocheck.
You're going to
a very good deal for me.
I really hope that you make bad decisions this summer, Billy Dean.
Lastly, just a quick thing. On this day, back in I didn't write down the year. Gump Worsley was was knocked out cold by a slap shot. After being treated in the locker room with ice and a Budweiser, he pronounced himself fit for the third period. So Budweiser gets you out of concussions.
So funny story about that. My grandmother was a Ranger fan because back when she was going to hockey games, there were
Smart lady.
6 teams in the league. There were 6 teams in the league. There was not a team from New Jersey. My dad remembers listening to Ranger games on the radio with my grandmother, and Gump Worsley was always the name that he brings up because it's a recognizable name, and he's the goalie. And then his son was a goalie.
Yeah, it's a great.
Good
Great
old
team
Gump.
to watch. Good old Gump.
Good old Gump.
Short guy, did you have a beer, by the way?
Yeah, I had some Wildwood Haze because it was on
Well,
tap
I
in the
get it.
house, and possibly for next week, I'll have a second beverage on tap in my house at the same time.
Ooh,
Very exciting.
We'll get to next weekend or next week. We'll talk about it.
We could.
Shrim, you're POS. Thank you for showing up. Steven, what is your rating on your beer?
4. Very
4.
tasty and
Schwartz?
refreshing.
I forget what I give Wildwood Haze. 4 1/4, 4.5. I have no idea. 4, whatever I give it.
Yeah. Well, I was
4
telling
and change.
Steven, this beer I
4
had
and
it's basically a fruit pie in a glass. It is delicious. It has no lactose, so Steven's gonna have it when he comes over next time.
Yay!
Never tell me the odds. 4.5. Very good beer. Highly recommend it.
Hey,
Blair, start.
before we log off, I know this is not really good podcasting. However, I'm going to show this to my camera. There I am with Sam from Dog Chat
Sam
Caglione.
Calcione.
down at Mud Hen. Sam and I
Dogfish,
down at Mud Hen.
Please go visit Delaware. Awesome Lou's. It's a fantastic place. The whole setup
Lewis.
from the brew pubs.
Lewis.
Thank you.
We'll be down
the
there
brew
in
pubs
September.
to the restaurants to the brewery itself, tasting rooms. Please go down there, enjoy it, and Schwim. Take us home. Oh wait, you're not here. Thanks, Schwim.